Alright, for something completely different, let's talk about religion. We'll start with why do I keep ragging out on it? And I think, first of all, we have to understand that there's some basic problems with religion. Very basic. And the first basic problem is that it is a lie. And the nice thing about it actually is that it is a very clear lie. And not to see it actually is an indication that we are blind, or people that believe it are blind. And first, let's start with saying that all religion sucks, but I'm going to concentrate mostly on Christianity because that's where I was brought up and that's where my knowledge lies. And let's start with Sarah. Sarah was the wife of Abraham, if I got that correct. I think so, yeah. And Abraham had first a child through his maid, or her maid, one of the maids, a concubine, a slave really. And then it was time for him to have another one. And quite often and quite common, the best way to get riches was to give your wife half-sister. She was his half-sister. We must not forget that. This very common back then with the sperm religions is to, I'm not sure if it was the motivation to get different genes. I don't think they were that clever back then. I think they were mostly just stupid apes, like most people still are. And he lent his wife out, Sarah. She was probably very young, maybe 14 or 15. And he lent her to the king of, I don't know where. Every city state had a king. That's how, well, actually that's still how it is. They call them different names now, like CEOs or whatever. That's another point today. Our point is, she was whored out for goats, sheep, and silver. And she had the child of a different king, and I can't even remember his name. His name was Arminabad or something, but names are also pointless. Anyway, it was very clearly written that, and it said that the king found out that Sarah was married to her brother, half-brother, and that he decided not to have sex with her, but gave Abraham goats and chickens anyway. And this, of course, is what you call a backwards hint, and it's for the idiots to say, oh no, Sarah wasn't a prostitute, or actually she wasn't a prostitute, she wouldn't have had a choice, she would have been told to do what she has to do, and that the man is the boss because, well, the man has the sperm. I mean, women only have to have the thing in the baby in their body for 9 months, and really it's the man who does all the work because he actually ejaculated into her vagina. So we're not making any sense right now, so I'm going to take a short break and try to figure out what I'm talking about. Well, let's start by saying that or continue by saying that the Bible is not holy, and when somebody tells you that something is holy, you have to suspect that they are lying pricks, because the only reason to say that a Bible was holy would be so that you never stopped to question it. Because if you stopped to question the Bible, you'd be questioning it like me, like I have for, well, if I told you how long, then you'd know how old I am. But that doesn't matter. For 47 years I've been questioning the Bible. Well, I didn't really question the Bible in the first 6 years of my life, but I think by about the time I was 6, it started confusing me. And the reason it confused me is because it was so obvious that if Jesus was the only way to get to heaven and everyone else went to hell, first of all, the best musicians were going to hell, and I really like music, so that was a big problem. And the other problem was, what about the people that never heard about Jesus? For example, all the people that lived before he even existed. Did they all have to go to hell? And then what about the people, for example, in China who never heard about him? Say maybe like 1 billion people. do they all have to go to hell? And it seemed like a cult was being made, just like any other cult, that said, we are the best and everybody else deserves to die. And this, if you think about it for a minute, might have a lot to do with justifying genocide. And lo and behold, that is exactly what it always is. Genocide. You make somebody else look like shit by, let's talk about Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah, we have heard, was destroyed by God, but let's skip the God thing, because we know God is bullshit. God doesn't exist. It is a paranoia we've been taught. And wait a second, I need a second.